What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Samurai's Lair. Today, we're talking about politics today. I got the whole thing set up. I like to do scripts because, come on, I think we all know every podcast has scripts and stuff. So I'm going to read this. I'm probably going to get a couple of words wrong, but I don't know. Talking about war, climate disasters, airline chaos, geopolitics, global trade storms, and war escalation. Let's get into this. First up, war, because the world seems to be circling the flames again. On December 6, 2025, Russian armed forces launched what officials are calling a large scale drone and missile attack targeting critical infrastructures across 8 Ukrainian regions, including energy facilities, rail, rail and transport hubs, and power plants. The strike wait, the strikes caused widespread blackouts, disrupted water and heating supplies, and forced emergency repairs while Europe watches on. These attacks are happening even as the diplomat dip, diplo, diplomas, dip, diplomacy. I'm going to say that diplomacy is supposedly underway a peace negotiation effort mediated by Donald J. Trump's administration is in motion, but despite a recent meeting, no breakthrough has come yet. On top of that, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, may be undergoing a shakeup. The U.S. reportedly wants European members to take over the bulk of NATO's conventional conventional defense capabilities by 2027, even hinting it might withdraw from some planning mechanisms if Europe doesn't meet that deadline. Civilian lives are being endangered directly as civilian infrastructures get hit. Peace talks seem fragile, and continued violence undermines trust. NATO's future is in flux. If Europe doesn't build up global security, balance may shift. NATO member of European citizens, would you prefer the US stay deeply involved even if it would cost more, or shift the burden to Europe and hope for independence what feels safer to you? Next, what's going on beyond war? Trade, diplomacy, and global realignment. In the midst of all this, the European Commission has proposed an ambitious plan to use billions of dollars worth of frozen assets from Russia to fund reconstruction in Ukraine, about 90 billion over the next 2 years. It's being framed as a reparations loan, but not everyone is on board. Several countries, notably the one where the assets are frozen, object, citing legal and financial risk if things go wrong. That's crazy. Meanwhile, on a different front, diplomacy between major world powers continues. Emmanuel Macron, France, recently urged Xi Jinping, who's from China, to cooperate more closely on geopolitics, trade, and environmental issues, signaling a push toward balancing global economic power. Money from frozen assets may help Ukraine, but legal/financial risk could destabilize European unity. Global alliances are shifting with China, EU, US all playing big power chess. Trade relationships and diplomacy may redefine world order in coming years. Do you think using frozen assets for war reparations is fair? Or does it set a dangerous precedent should countries pay war debts this way? Okay, Now for one of the heaviest but often underemphasized things, nature reminding us who really is in charge. In Southeast Asia, especially Indonesia's Sumatra, there has been catastrophic floods and landslides triggered by a rare combination of cyclones like Cyclones Ditwa and Cyclone Sanyar and heavy monsoon rains. The disaster has killed hundreds, displaced millions, and devastated villages. This this ve- devastated villages and farmland. Rescue efforts are underway, but survivors are comparing the flood damage to past disasters, and some even call it a second tsunami for certain regions due to the scale of deconstruction. On the global stage, the World Meteorological Organization warned that the weak La Nina is expected to influence weather patterns worldwide over the next months, which could mean more extreme weather, unpredictable seasons, and increased climate stress globally. This shit is like hurting my breath. Humanitarian crisis, millions displaced, homes destroyed, infrastructure gone, lives unappended. Climate instability is becoming the new normal, affecting millions across continents. Even regions far from Southeast Asia should pay attention because such disasters shift economies, migration, global food supply, and awareness about climate change. Do you think group leaders are doing enough about climate disasters, or is it still a wait and see mindset globally? What should people outside affected what should people outside affected areas care about? Switching gears to travel and chaos, because sometimes the world's biggest disruptions don't come from war or storms, but logis- logistical breakdowns. Indigo, India's largest airline, has canceled more than 1,000 flights in a single day as of December 5th, 2025. The cancellations are part of what's been described as a nationwide operational crisis. The problem stems from new regulations implementing stricter requirements for pilot rest time and night flying limits under FDTL, flight duty time limitation. Norms norms meant to increase safety but apparently underestimated by the airline when planning cruise scheduling. The fallout is huge. Thousands of travelers stranded, protests at airports, severe disruption during what's supposed to be a busy travel season. Governments had to impose fare caps and force refunds to avoid price gouging. Travel chaos shows how fragile global connectivity is. A failure, single airline's failure ripple across continents. People's lives disrupted, holiday plans, business trips, family travel, all in limbo. It raises questions. Should airlines be forced to over prepare, or are regulations good for safety but bad for logistics? Have you ever had travel plans messed up by airline cancellations? How did you feel? And who should be responsible, the company, the government? Who should be responsible? The company, the government, or both? I think the government. I don't know about you guys. Alright. Beyond war and disasters, there's also space science and what the future might hold. Recently, a group of European nations agreed to pump up funding for space over the next 3 years, boosting their combined budget by around 30%, totaling around 22.1 billion, aiming to compete globally in launches, satellites, Earth observation, and more. This part of a bigger global space race, countries and private firms and alliances are scrambling for space technology, research, and influence. The dynamics are shifting, especially as geopolitical tensions are like Ukraine roar change global alignment. Space could be the next frontier for power, commerce, and environmental monitoring. Earth observation satellites may help track climate change, disasters, global warming, and something tied to our earlier segment on climate. For younger folks like you guys, more tech, more opportunities in science, gaming, AI, space explorations, future possible careers. If we go back to the moon or Mars or build space colonies, should Earth fix its problem first, or is exploring space our best bet for survival? Fuck, that was my mic. So by now you might be thinking, wow, that's a lot. And you'd be right. But there's the thing, all these stories, war, climate, travel, chaos, politics, and space, they connect. The world is less siloed than ever. Conflicts like Ukraine influence global alliances and security. That changes international trade, alliances, and even decisions in faraway countries. Climate disasters shake economics and force migrations that affects global food supplies, global price markets, and even politics. That's how people that's how people, ideas, and economics move. Airline disruptions show how fragile global connectivity is. The future, what seems like sci-fi now, might solve tomorrow's climate or resource problems. We live in an interconnected world that happens to be in one corner of the planet or even outer space. It affects all of us. Now, I want to hear from you listeners. Here's a few things to think about. Which story shocked you the most this month? War, climate, or airline chaos? Do you think global leadership is keeping up, or are we always one disaster away from chaos? What do you think? What do you want to see covered next? More on climate, economy, or maybe lighter stuff like pop culture or tech or space? Send in your thoughts, comment, uh, DMs, tweets, whatever. I'm reading all of them. I'm reading them all, and I might feature some in the next episode. All right, everyone. That's it for now. That's it for this episode. We covered war, disasters, travel chaos, global politics, space, a little bit of everything. If you like this, hit subscribe, leave a review, share it with a friend who cares about the world. Because more we talk, the more we stay aware. Or maybe, just maybe, we'll make a difference. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and don't forget the world's big, messy, and full of surprises.